Hello and welcome to the URCO pre-show.
Hello.
Hi, Shar.
Hi.
How's it going?
Fabulous.
How was your day?
It was awesome. And yours?
Good. Really productive.
Yes.
Yeah, really productive. So this is our usual pre-show. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this week's pre-show. Now, last week, Shar, if you remember, we talked about Health is True Wealth Part 1, which is a really exciting show. And tonight we have Part 2. So before we get started, what we want to make sure that you do, so anyone that's new, we want to welcome you.
Yes.
We have a lot of users that have just joined us over the past week.
I've noticed that. I have noticed that.
So we want to welcome you all and thank you for joining the movement. Yes. If you are traveling, be sure to get to your destination, right? We want to be safe. Safety first. Okay, safety first.
No, really.
Yeah, really. Safety first. So, but while you're doing that, Shar, last week's show, because we want to just continue the conversation about health is your true wealth. Last week, if you remember, Michael had some special guests. Mr. Michael Lee Parker had some special guests, Miss Maya Parker and Miss Elizabeth Mancuso, and they had some really good discussions.
Yes, they did.
About some areas. Do you want to recap anything that kind of stood out to you about last week?
I thought they did excellent. I mean, I think coming from a health perspective in the medical field, as well as from the nutrition side, I thought they added a lot of variety of conversations. So I thought it was a really excellent show.
Yeah, I think Elizabeth, when Elizabeth and I had their segment, they really talked a little bit about, actually I think it was Michael and Elizabeth, and they talked about getting your checkup. Remember that? They talked about getting your checkup. So just in the pre-show, we're just kind of giving you a little prelude because we're going to continue the conversation tonight about your health, right? So last week, if you weren't able to join us and if you weren't able to watch the show, we had a discussion about, getting your checkup, knowing what's in your health history, what's in your family history, and then also taking some steps and some measures on some things you can do to change things. So I think last week the discussion was about, hypertension. I think Elizabeth kind of mentioned some key things to look for when you have if you notice something in your, different about your body. I think she kind of mentioned some things about if you happen to see a rash,
not waiting.
Yeah.
Not waiting. Yeah, that was good.
Definitely not waiting. And if you notice something, go to your doctor. And I think they also talked a little bit about, it's a fear factor.
Oh, yeah. Most people don't want to go to the doctors.
Sure. Yes.
So now there's a few that they love it. They're always there. We get it. But, for most average people,
it's true.
It's a little intimidating. But I thought the points that they brought up were good. If you see something different that's not normal, go find out about it.
Yes.
It's better safe to know ahead of time than to wait.
Yeah, I think Elizabeth, she mentioned that too. And I think she gave some real life scenarios about some of her patients.
Some of her
Remember
patients,
that?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, those were good.
Those were really good. So she talked about one client that she had, if you remember, she said she didn't really, she told her, kind of gave her a prognosis about something, and then gave her a suggestion. And I think her client said, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's okay, I don't want to do that.
So to your point, some people are just really afraid.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I think they kind of discuss the long-term effects of not finding out are far worse than getting a checkup.
Oh yeah, and it might take a moment. You might say, oh no, not right now.
Sure.
But you should be thinking about it, and hopefully you'll make some changes within within a safe period of time.
Yes,
because it could be a little intimidating.
So let me ask you a question. What if you don't mind sharing with the audience? Remember, it's the pre-show, so we're just having a conversation. We're having a conversation. In your day-to-day diet, Shar, what type of things do you do just to kind of, keep yourself kind of on a healthy track, if you will? What
day-to-day?
Yeah, just day-to-day, some things
breakfast.
that you do.
So I was not a big breakfast person.
Oh.
But in the last maybe year or two, I have. So breakfast is a must. So
Okay.
a coffee is always in order. For all the coffee lovers out there, which I know
We
Yeah.
we are.
Breakfast was a big one for me. So I think incorporating that has been very beneficial. And what I eat for breakfast, too, has been
Sure.
different, too. So, fruits or, a nice wheat toast, or I love Ezekiel raisin, which I know you love, too.
I do, too.
So I love avocado toast, fruit, eggs, fry up an egg, throw it on top.
Yes.
So I think that's probably a big one for me. What about you?
Now for breakfast, I tend to like oatmeal. I like oatmeal, and then I kind of have this new thing that I've been embarking on. You probably saw it in the kitchen today. I like this sweet potato hash that I've been making.
Oh, is that you? With the
Yes,
sweet potato
that was
hash?
me.
Okay.
That was okay.
So I did see it on the counter. I peeked and I saw it, but I didn't partake. I did good. I didn't.
It's really good. It's my latest. Because the sweet potato has so many benefits. So this is why I'm kind of embarking on that. And in the middle of, to your point about breakfast. So breakfast is my favorite meal, actually. So I actually have breakfast sometimes for dinner.
So I
really like breakfast.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I really like breakfast. So, but to your point, oatmeal, fruits, like you said, I like the Ezekiel bread, the raisin bread for sure. And then I in the summertime, I have a little bit of different routine.
Okay,
so in the
tell us.
summertime, I do some more smoothies.
Oh.
So I do smoothies in the summer with, like you said, lots of fruit and berries, and then I add some chia seed and I add some flax seeds, so different things to kind of fuel my body.
Right.
Throughout the day. And I think you mentioned something about frying, and so I know that as we kind of embark on a more healthier lifestyle and healthier options, and the reason why we're kind of having this discussion for those of you that are new and just joining us the first time is because we want to have a more fulfilling life and be able to do those things that we value, which last week we kind of talked about, our families, your career, your life, different things in your business, and you have to be at a healthy state in order to fulfill those goals, right?
Absolutely.
And so like Shar was mentioning, when you kind of change your eating away from what society says are the norms, and society does make it difficult to kind of break away from those things.
Extremely.
I think we kind of talked about that a little bit. About the supermarket. I think we had a commercial last week about the supermarket. There was a TED Talk, and the lady, she actually was speaking about when you go to the supermarket, how everything is strategically placed, just so. And if you're not someone that's savvy about marketing, you know, and how things are positioned, right? We tend to go right down that center aisle, right? That has all of those boxed, great cookies.
Oh, yeah. The fruit and vegetables are way over here.
Yes.
Now, what I love about Whole Foods, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, and they're not as expensive as you might think.
That's true. That's true.
All the fruits and vegetables are like right when you walk in, it looks beautiful and you want it.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I want this. So before you even make it to anything else, it's fruit, vegetables, proteins. And I really like that about
and all the color, to your point. The color is, you know, it's just really kind of energizing, right? You walk in and you see melons and watermelons and lemons.
Grapes and pineapples and bananas.
Yes.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. We'll get a fruit salad when we're done with the pre-show.
Oh, yes.
So this is really good. So what we want to make sure that you do is, okay, so we're getting to know. So this is the pre-show. We have a lot of people on Facebook. We want you to go on YouTube. We want you to share, because YouTube, you can. Now, if you're new to YouTube. You want to tell them, Shar, how to make sure to get notified?
Well, sure, I'd love to. Thank you. So if you're on YouTube or even if you're in Facebook, there's a little bell at the top, typically on the right-hand side of your phone or of your computer. There's a little bell, so click it so that you can get notified when we are online. That way, when it comes on, it's live, you know about it, and you can make adjustments, and you can jump in and watch with us. And so very easy to do, very, very easy to do.
And then that, to Shar's point, as soon as we go live, you know, all the time, you want to know about it. Because we know you want to know about it.
Yes, and share it. So then there's an easy way to share it too. So you can right-click, find the share, and you can send it to your friends. You can send a link, post it on your news feed. Like, tell everyone else about it so they can jump in too.
Yeah, because what we're talking about here is healthy lifestyle, right? And I think that, so I have a question for you.
She is full of questions today. I need to get my questions together.
I didn't forget my question. Because Marcus wanted us to share, no problem, but I didn't forget my question. So, Shar, you mentioned something about frying.
Oh, yes.
So, because we're embarking on a healthier lifestyle, and you know what? This is what I want to ask, excuse me, Shar, our audience. Those of you that have already made this adjustment, you've been, you know, already eating healthy foods for quite some time. You've been eating grass-fed, you know, cage-free, or even if you just, you know, have lived a life of making healthier choices. Can you put your comments in the feed? Tell our audience some things that you've done. You know, if you've had carrot juice for the past 5 years and it helps you with such and such. If you don't eat after a certain, you know, hour for your body, because of course, as a community, all of these things won't necessarily apply to everyone.
Yeah,
I think Maya mentioned that last week. She talked about those fad diets, if you remember, Shar. And she made a good point. She talked about that keto diet, which I didn't know personally. She said that actually is very detrimental to someone with a heart problem because they're taking in too much fat. So, you know, you have to know your body, back to getting your checkups.
Absolutely.
Right, know your body and be sure to make those good choices for yourself. But to my question. So since we're embarking on healthier options, you mentioned about frying. So what, as a healthy option, how do you fry? Because most people traditionally use, you know, probably a canola oil, a deep fryer, you know, to kind of, you know, fry items. But if you want to still have the fried taste every now and then, what do you do?
Now, I'm not the expert, but I am on a learning journey with you. But I like to fry my eggs in a pan, and I just use avocado oil. And I spray a little on there, just a dabble of avocado oil. And then I just kind of hard fry it, but it's not like a deep fry. And then sometimes I make French fries in an air fryer, so I love French fries. But I don't like the grease or the deep frying effect. So I will use an air fryer, and it gives me the crisp that I would get if I deep fried it. So, and it was a small investment too.
I was gonna say, air fryer. So for those of you who don't know about, where can our viewers purchase air fryer?
Anywhere. So this is where I went. So I went to Kohl's, y'all. Kohl's, and I found a coupon online, 25% off. So it's on sale.
Bargain shopping.
And a coupon. So you know, if you save up and find the coupons, and you can invest, and you can. I've done fish in there.
Okay.
I did fried snapper. And I did it with the organic cornmeal, and it was delish.
So Char's giving, okay, just to recap for you all.
I'm hungry.
No, just to recap. So those of you that are going to move along with us through this healthy migration, I love Char's tips because she said, so you can
we'll find out if they work though today.
Yeah, no, you can still probably do some frying, but no, this is good because again, if you're not deep frying, what she said was avocado oil. You know, she said a little spray. She said we have to invest in an air fryer.
Yes, it's so cool.
Okay, so
if you like that, and it might not work for you,
sure.
You know.
But I'm gonna have to I need to come over.
You should come over. You haven't been over in a minute.
It's been a while, and I need to see how this air fryer works before I invest. So if you have a friend that has one, go over for dinner.
Yes, go over for dinner.
And see if you like the texture of the fried food from the air fryer first, right? Yeah. But anything, of course, Char, is gonna be healthier than deep frying.
Oh
right?
yeah. Okay. Any small adjustment, right? The air fryer might not be for someone. Sure. But even switching out your oil is, a big benefit too, to your point.
Absolutely.
So yeah, gotta find what works.
Yes, gotta find out what works. So we're in this together. So it's almost showtime. So again, if you're just now joining, Charlene Caruso, LaShawna Jackson on the pre-show tonight. We're so glad that you've joined us.
It's to be on the pre-show with the season.
Oh goodness. This is my friend here. This is my friend here. So we want to make sure that you get to your destination, get there safely, make sure that you have a good Wi-Fi connection, make sure you're ready to take any notes. Please share in the comment feed any tips that you have, anything that you've done on a healthy lifestyle along your journey, anything that you can share with the community, because as Char mentioned, we're doing this together. And we want to, add our comments and our support for one another, because we all want to move into what we want to be healthier, so we can do what we value, right? And that's what we are about here. You are CEO. We're about your career, your life, and your business. And as a community, we're going to take this health. We're going to take this health industry on, and we're going to do it together. We're really going to make some changes.
Yes.
So this is our year.
We're taking charge.
We're taking charge.
2019, we're taking charge.
Control your destiny.
Absolutely.
Control your destiny, right?
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're
together.
Doing. Yes, that's the key. We're controlling our destiny together. So again, be sure to get to your destination. Share. Be sure to share this tonight's show.
Absolutely.
Because this is going to be really critical. We can't tell you what's happening tonight, but you want to be sure to be online. And no.
No, I don't want to say it.
No. Okay, but it's going to be really critical, because tonight I think we're going to probably talk a little bit more, might go in depth about, how to purchase different things, maybe, again, maybe how things are positioned in the store, because that's really critical.
Oh, yeah.
I know when I go to the grocery store, like you mentioned, I tend to go to Whole Foods, farmers markets. I do like farmers markets. I like the farmers markets.
Yeah, okay.
Get fresh flowers too.
Yes, you do love flowers.
Yeah, you do. So I do like the farmers market, but I did find that at most grocery stores that I can find the same items that I need at the farmer's market. They are there sometimes. And to your point, as soon as I arrive, they're there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's great. So, okay, everybody, it looks like we're ready to get the show started. Health is True Wealth Part 2. Enjoy.
I've got to manage myself. I've got to manage my mind. The task is not easy, but to higher heights I climb.
I'm determined to succeed, so no excuses, please. If you don't want success in life, then don't hinder me. Yes, let the whole world know you are a CEO.
Hello, everyone. Terry Fulton here, and I am here in the URCO studio with two of our super affiliates, Sylvia and Latrice. Give yourself a round of applause. Oh, my goodness. I can't halfway take it. This is going to be really good. So we're going to rush through some things real quick because I want to take opportunity where you all are here, right? So let's kind of get through some of the logistics that we normally get to. So if you all see here, health is true wealth. If this is where you're at, you're in the right place. This is what we're talking about tonight. And tonight we're going to be going through a part 2. So I can't wait until that information is unleashed to you all. We got some wonderful guests with Mike Tomasello and Bar Ben Shoshan, and so it's going to be awesome. So the next thing I want to talk to you all about is that you all have been waiting for the template, the Life Rhythm template. Latrice, Sylvia, the template is in the product. The template. It is in the product, yes. Awesome. Yeah, it's in there. It's in there. So I did a coaching video where I talked about the 7 tips. Remember, I used that even in the commercials and everything. So it's in that video. So if you go to that video, you'll find it in the coaching section of URCO. You can download the template. Then we have the t-shirt campaign, and there are only 2 days left, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all got yours.
Get yours.
You got yours, so that's awesome. So there's only 2 days left, February 27th. You're gonna see no days left. It's gonna start coming down to hours. So you wanna make sure you get your t-shirt or your hoodie. And then Uplift. So we have a new member. Bill Evans jumped into the product, and he's in there. You kind of see him working here at the office today. That was awesome. And then Richard Evans, always out there riding his bike, rain or snow in Southern California. Yes, there was snow in Southern California. 1,500 mints over. He has a 1 million Uplift score. He's in the Uplift Power. This is amazing. So we got a lot of activity going on in there. And then post of the week coming from Amber James out in Tyler, Texas. And I think it really fits the theme tonight where she posted, if you think the pursuit of good health is expensive and time consuming, try illness. And so it's really something to think about, and it goes right along with what we were talking about here today. And then guess who was #1 affiliate contributor last week? You, Sylvia, again, my goodness, 3 weeks in running. This is amazing. Somebody has to come up a little bit higher.
The whole world
this is next level. This is next level. And so before we get started, though, I want to just say that we are up to 3,258 members, and the movement is growing. So this is pretty awesome. So we want to make sure that we continue to get out there and let the whole world know that you are a CEO. So now that that's all out of the way, let's take advantage. You guys are here tonight.
I know.
This is awesome.
I'm uber excited.
Uber excited. Okay, I like that. I like that. I like that. So I feel the same way. So you're so excited. Tell us why. What has URCO done for you? And then, you know, even with the whole health thing that we've been talking about, or this whole series with getting your life together, tell us about it.
It's just made me like more conscious, right? The whole health aspect of URCO. I've really been trying to like take control of my health 2019. That's been big on my agenda. So this has really just brought some things to light in my life. So that's like my biggest.
Nice. I like it. More conscious. That's good. That's good. What sayest thou, Miss Contributor of the Week? Yeah, again.
Well, as you know, real quick, lost 60 pounds 20 years ago, went down 14 to 6, it was like 16 dress sizes, and the URCO, and I've been in this lifestyle for 20 something years, but the URCO, it's like rejuvenated me, and I was excited anyways, because when you're healthy, when you feel good about the choices you make, life happens, things happen, but you know that you're making the right choices. It's kind of like, that's okay, because I know I'm making the right choices. But then with the URCO movement and all this motivation and all these different things, I just felt so empowered.
That's
just
right.
Like great, like
That's right.
more greater empowered, and it's like I'm just gonna push harder and stay even more consistent. But in addition to that, it made me more empowered to want to share with different ones.
Okay,
and I
that's
think
good.
that is taking me to a different level.
So how are people, throw this out there, how are people responding when you talk to them? What's the feedback that you all are getting?
Favorably. They love it. They
Yes.
love it. I mean, everyone's so excited about the movement. They want to know, what is you are a CEO? Why are you wearing that shirt? What does this mean? So when you tell them, look, this isn't just about being the CEO in a big corporation. You run the business of you. They're excited about that.
Nice. So they respond to that, you run the business of you.
Who don't want to run a business?
So do you flip it on them and say, so how's your business running? Do you ask that question? How are people responding to you? I know you like all over America, all over the world. So how are people responding?
Well, the ones that know me, they're like, what is this? Is that what you've been doing all these years? What's going on? They're, so they're like trying to pull information. The people I just meet, just randomly meet, they really love, and I know he won't mind me saying this, but as some of you know, that I was awarded by the Attorney General. After we had this, of New Mexico, and after we had this discussion, I told him, he said, so what is it? He asked, we had this little discussion, what's your secret? And that's what he told me in the work that I do. And I said, you want to know? And I literally said it like that. And I said, well, what it is it's something called You Are a CEO.
Nice.
And I said, it's self-empowerment, self-awareness, overcoming fear, and obtaining your excellence. And he said, I do want to know.
You just dropped
He
those
said,
4 pillars
yeah,
on them
literally.
like that?
And I said, can we share it with your
that?
office? And he said, yeah. And he said, he goes, I am always open to learn. And yes. And
That's
so,
great.
yes. So yes, we got an
That's
email
great.
to him. And
That's awesome. We got to email in. So
yes.
so make sure that you letting the whole world know. We got to have to sing the song one of these days. What you think?
I'll let you take the lead.
She's not the CEO of her voice
Not of
right
song.
now, but she really can sing. She really, really can. So this is great. I can't help but thank you all for just being in town and saying we want to stop by and coming into the studio. You all have been like super helpful. What do you want to just real quick, any last things that you want to tell anybody to maybe prepare their heart to watch tonight's show real quickly?
Go ahead.
Just be open, listen. This is some good material. Take advantage of it. No one's dropping jewels like You Are CEO. So tune in.
Awesome.
I will just say, absolutely, be open, definitely, I'll echo that. And also receive with a heart that possibly prepare to give. Because that's You Are CEO movement is about definitely becoming the CEO of yourself, but we want to let the whole world know.
That's it. That's it. I like that. That was kind of like a heal the world kind of moment. I kind of like that. So that being said, I want to introduce this very important slide to you all. And if you remember in part 1, Mr. Parker talked about these 4 areas where he's talking about eating, sleep, hereditary, and then the sun, where vitamin D is concerned. And so he'll continue this conversation tonight with some outstanding guests, but we're gonna go into the first video where it kind of talks a little bit about vitamin D and how it can impact your health. And so he'll be right back, Mr. Michael E. Parker, to start taking the show on into the main content. Again, thank you, Sylvia and Latrice, for being in town, and we'll be right back after this quick video.
Before watching the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button below and clicking the bell icon to be notified whenever we publish a new video. Many people are aware of the dangers of overexposure to the sun. Skin cancer is at the top of the list of those dangers. And while we need to educate ourselves and understand how to properly protect ourselves from damage caused by too much time spent in direct contact with the sun, we can't simply avoid it altogether. Not getting enough sun has health risks associated with it too. That's because when our bodies come in contact with sunlight, our skin translates it into a very important vitamin, vitamin D. In turn, once our body has vitamin D, it becomes a hormone that plays an important role in our bone structure, immune system, and even our mental health. Although you can take supplements or have a more complete diet to increase your vitamin D levels, the best way is to spend some much-needed time outside. Some health officials estimate that 90% of Americans suffer from a vitamin D deficiency. So let's look at what could happen when you don't get enough vitamin D. High blood pressure. There's no doubt that a link exists between high blood pressure and lower vitamin D levels. Vitamin D works to fight the plaque that builds up in the blood vessels. Less vitamin D means more plaque. More plaque leads to restricted blood flow, higher blood pressure, and the complications it causes. Cancer. Vitamin D is so powerful that it helps fight cancer. When our levels of this important vitamin are where they need to be, our immune system works properly and inhibits the growth of cancer cells. Vitamin D also has an anti-inflammatory effect which reduces the risk for certain common cancers. Diabetes. Research points to a link between optimal vitamin D levels in young people and their avoidance of developing type 2 diabetes later in life. Since vitamin D controls calcium levels, it's believed that it also has the capacity to control blood sugar levels. When vitamin D levels are low, the body seems to have a more difficult time regulating blood sugar, and over time this could lead to the development of type 2 diabetes. Rheumatoid arthritis. Once again, linking vitamin D's relationship to calcium, we understand its importance in bone health. Vitamin D helps the body absorb calcium, but when we don't have enough of this vitamin, it causes our bones to be underdeveloped and in old age become soft and brittle. A vitamin D deficiency also leads to poor muscle development. These factors greatly impact the possibility of the formation of rheumatoid arthritis. Asthma. The anti-inflammatory effects that vitamin D has tend to fight asthma. Asthma and other respiratory issues result in part from inflammation in the lungs. People who live in large urban areas generally have less exposure to the sun and lower vitamin D levels, which could cause them to be more susceptible to asthma than those in rural areas who are more frequently exposed to direct sunlight. IBD. IBD, or inflammatory bowel disease, is caused when an offending agent causes the body's immune system to produce inflammation in the intestinal tract. Because vitamin D is important to a properly functioning immune system and reduces inflammation, it reduces the risk of IBD. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. For more recipes and tips, subscribe to the channel.
Hello everyone, Michael Lee Parker here in studio, and we've got a great show for you tonight. I hope you enjoyed that on vitamin D. We talked about that being one of the elements of us being healthy, getting into some sun. I want to welcome a great friend of mine, and his name is great, Michael. Michael Tomasello. It's good to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
Yes, absolutely. And so me and Mike have been friends for many, many years, and I've watched him as a professional, and he happens to be in a very critical industry. Let me show you just a few things about him. So as you can see on the screen, this is Michael Tomasello. He's the director of meat, poultry, and seafood at Molly Stone's. But he actually goes back even further than that. I want to show you some vintage footage here, and maybe he can tell us a little bit about it. Now, Mike, this is, you know, this is going way back into your family. I mean, you've had the meat and seafood and kind of the butcher industry in your life a long time. What is this picture? Tell us a little bit about this.
That was my great-grandfather in San Francisco. I think it was taken in 1914.
You're kidding?
No.
1914?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this might be worth some money or something.
I wish I could sell it.
Absolutely, I bet you do. And Mike is all about the margins and about the money and making sure things are right, but he's been around this industry for a long time. Now let's look at one more photo. This is another photo, and you know, if you look closely, I can see on that window it says Viziglio. Is that how you say it? Viglizio. Yeah. I can't even say it the right way. But what is this picture? Tell me a little bit about this.
That's my great-grandfather. Another picture just outside the store. So same store, just outside.
Oh, just on the outside.
And that's from, so the Viglizio is from my mom's brother's side. So it's my uncle.
Is that kind of where it all started in terms of your family getting into the kind of the butcher industry?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. So there's a lot we're going to talk about, but tell me initially, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but tell me just a little bit about how you ended up, you know, getting into this space in this industry and learning so much about meat and seafood.
So when I was 16, I worked for my uncle. He owned a store in San Francisco, and then I've been there for like, I think it was like 23 years, and then Molly Stone's bought him out in 2005.
Right.
And I worked for Molly Stone's for 7 years.
So you've been through the whole transition. You were there over 20 years and then went through a buyout, but
you stayed. They kept you there because I guess you had a lot of the experience from the old operation, right?
I just got sold out.
You got sold out. And you got left behind.
I got left behind.
Yeah, you got left behind. But that's because they knew they knew that you were good. So that's, I mean, in one way, that's a compliment. So let's talk about this though. You've been in this industry. You know about meat, seafood. You see so many different things, and now Molly Stone's is a big grocery operation as well. And I want to talk about some things that we hear about all the time and maybe give some information to people, because as we talk about eating healthy and those things, there's different words we hear out there. So let's start with this. So as you can see on the screen, what is organic food? Now I know in Molly Stone's you must have areas where people talk about organic. What is organic? What would you define that as?
So organic is, organic has to be where the land is totally clear for 3 years straight. So in California, it's hard to get organic. So it either be raising chickens, beef, vegetables. It has to be clear of pesticides and everything for 3 years. They can't be conventional, where they do like pesticides and everything. Everything has to be, naturally.
Right. So tell me about this 3 years. So you're saying for 3 years, they have to make sure that it's untainted, or what do you mean?
Untainted, yeah, the land is clear. So
the land itself has to be untainted for 3 years. Okay. Now, after those 3 years are over, is everything that happens on that land considered organic?
Organic, yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
So it got to at least to be untainted for 3 years to even start saying that something organic can come from it.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, so this is really important, all of you out there. So when we see that organic label, if there's laws now that you can't just throw organic on something, it has to meet those standards, right?
And that's why organic's usually higher in price, because it takes a lot to maintain that land.
Right. Also, is that what's driving some of the price? They have to maintain the land.
Yeah.
I got you. So it's not just the 3 years, but even after that, they've got to maintain it to a certain standard.
Yeah, no pesticides, no herbicides, no nothing on that.
Right. All the chemicals that we end up eating if it's not organic. So let's go to another one here. So this is really good. So now, this is a big one, and I know, Mike, I happen to know you can do some things with a meat cleaver, so I have respect for you in that regard. Now, when you're dealing with meat, and this is a big subject, there is, and when we promote in Eating Clean at URCO, we talk about there are some meat that we consider clean. So when you look at grain-fed versus grass-fed, now, what are some things that you can tell us about the difference between the two?
So grain-fed is usually corn-fed and mixed with animal byproducts, which could be anything. So it could be, byproducts of cows, pigs, fish. Now, I even read like dogs and cats, but I'm not really sure about that.
Yeah, but I know you don't want to mess us up here right now, but it's some really, it's some real stuff that goes on in this industry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not, when you say byproducts, you mean it could be different body parts and
it's usually fat, livers, and all the everything. Right. No muscle meats, so nothing that they sell, like all the meats that we buy in like a grocery store.
Right.
Everything else goes into.
So is that more the grain fed?
The grain fed, yes.
Okay. So the grain fed, and that's what kind of can make it a little bit. Well, it can make it unhealthy because of all the things that could potentially be in it. Kind of man is guiding, whatever they need to do to get this meat to the store.
Yeah, and also cows can't really eat grains. So the problem is when they eat grains, they can't digest it. So what happens is they have to, and giving them antibiotics because the cattle get sick. And that's one of the major problems that people fight against.
So now you have what they're feeding it and what they're injecting in it to combat that. Wow. So what about the grass-fed?
So grass-fed it's usually no antibiotics, nor hormones added. They just feed on the grass. And if it's organic, so grass-fed and organic's pretty much the same, but organic they're fed on the organic land. So it's pretty much the same. So it's the way they're supposed to be eating.
Right, so this is, again, them eating the way they're supposed to be eating, as you said. So if you're out there and you're thinking about meat, grass-fed is a big difference in terms of, the quality of this meat and the impact on your health. Now let's go to another area. This is very good. Let's look at fish and even some of the terms like wild caught or farm raised. Some of these terms, they get really popularized and a lot of money is made. What's the difference and what's important about wild caught? And even those, we could pick that back up, those even look different. The wild caught versus the farm raised. What do you say about this?
So the wild, mainly in salmon, so the natural color of a salmon's kind of like it's like a gray, but since they eat krill, shrimp, and plankton, what happens is they get something called keratones, which creates that color. So on a farm-raised fish, they can't create those keratones because they're not feeding off shrimp and everything. So they have to make a animal byproduct to feed it, is one issue. And then the other issue is that they live in pens. So the pens might get diseased and it wipes out the whole pen. So a lot of farm-raised animals do get a lot of diseases. So if you ever see a bright red salmon, that's why I say color added, I wouldn't really purchase it.
So if it's bright red looking, that's a sign that it's not good.
Yeah, usually a farm-raised salmon would be an orange color.
Okay.
And then, so I know a law was passed in California that they have to write color added on it. So it's just a little thing underneath the label that says color added. And
right. So it could have not grown up properly and they added color to make it look like it did.
Well, it's what they're feeding it.
I see.
Yeah,
I see. Very good. So this is good. So now we're getting into wild versus farm raised. Now let's go a little bit into another subject, and that's free range. Now you hear this a lot, people talking about free range chicken, free range this or that. What does that mean? What is free range about?
So free range is the animal has ability to kind of go about. It might be in a barn. Usually they're not outside because of the sun or anything. But a cage animal they're in a cage. And they raise them in a cage. Could be about 8 chickens in one cage. They don't have room to stretch and like live a kind of humane life.
A natural life, yeah.
So actually there was I think another law passed, or it's going to be, there's on the ballot in 2022 that everything has to go cage free.
Really?
Yeah.
Because now, and I guess if they're in these cages, there's more stress on the animal, which could, and I hear with some of these animals that are more stressed, it can release toxins, it can do all kinds of different things, but that's kind of why it could make it less healthy, would you say?
Yes.
Okay, so let's...
And what they feed them too.
And what they feed them. What's the difference in what they feed them if they're caged?
So there's 2 areas that you look at a chicken. One's air chilled, and then there's a conventional chicken. So when you go into a store, if it don't say air chilled, so air chilled is when they cool, after they get defeathered, they're real hot, they have a lot of bacteria, and they cool them down by the air. So if you go to a conventional chicken, which the cheaper ones usually are, they have to take a bath. And in that bath, it's like 10 times the amount of chlorine a swimming pool has.
Really?
And so what they do is could be about 2,000 chickens in the bath. So you don't know if the first chicken, last chicken go into that bath.
Wow.
And then that chlorine, so what happens is the chicken absorbs the chlorine, and then we end up eating that chlorine.
Wow,
So
wow. That's some serious stuff. I mean, and you wouldn't know all the details of how critical it is. And sometimes we say, this costs a little bit more to buy this or that, but I don't know about you, I would spend a little bit more on what I'm putting in my body if you start hearing things like this. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. We got 2 more areas. I know we can talk forever about this, but I saw this one, Mike, it really kind of got to me. It says this turkey was thoughtfully raised. I mean, what is thoughtfully raised? I mean, it almost seems like somebody made that up, but it's really on there in the store.
Yeah.
What does thoughtfully raised mean?
So it's just pretty much saying their practices are humanely, how they treat the animal and how they raise it, so they're free range.
So that's a good thing to see thoughtfully. I mean, they care. It's
care,
like thoughtful, meaning care.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if they mean like we thought about it as they were growing up, or I don't know. So it just means thoughtful from the point of that they care.
And what they feed them. So there's 2 areas. One's a production area, and one's a feeding area. So like you have one area like people, they care about the feed and what they feed them and how they live, and then the other ones, or how they're slaughtering them and how they, and how the production line goes.
Right.
So that was all in one nutshell.
I see. So you want to find people that care all the way through the process.
All the way through.
No, that's very good. So one more thing, one more area. So this is another big thing you hear about is non-GMO, genetically modified. Tell me about a little bit about this arena. What is this all about, and how important is it to health and with things that we eat?
So the non-GMO organisms is, so what they did is they made, so like corn is about 93% of our corn is GMO, which they played with the seed so that when we use pesticides, it won't kill that seed. So they made it to withstand Roundup and all the herbicides and pesticides.
Right.
And so that was an issue because what happens is we're eating it. So it grows and we end up eating this seed that's been modified.
Wow. So the seed has been, so if it was natural corn, it would die from all the stuff they're putting in the ground.
In the ground.
But they put something in it so that it won't die and will still produce corn, and we're eating it.
Yep.
Wow.
93%, so you're probably eating it, unless if it says non-GMO verified.
Right.
And that's
so
the steal of it.
non-GMO, is that
Verified.
Verified. So
That
is that
means they're
verified on there important?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So non-GMO verified.
Verified,
So Mike, I want to thank you so much. This was very, very good. I mean, just to hear from someone that's in the industry that knows what they're talking about. Thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem.
So I want to thank everyone. We're going to go to a quick video. We're going to talk about how to navigate the supermarket, and you're going to learn a little bit more about things we look at in that supermarket and how to be more conscious. And again, when we come back, I have another special guest, and we're going to move deeper into tonight's show. We'll see you soon.
As the number of regular supermarkets increases, more and more people have access to the basic ingredients they need to make simple, healthy meals.
Another obstacle people erect to cooking is the idea that to cook you must go to the farmer's market and buy all local and organic food, and that's really not the case. The first and key decision, if health is a concern, is moving off of processed food and onto real food. I'm talking about plants and animals in their more or less natural state, or things that are very lightly processed like pasta or flour or things like that. And those things are still in your supermarket. They're mostly on the periphery of the supermarket. And one way to shop is sticking to the perimeter of the store. That historically is where the produce is, where the meat is, where the fish is, and where the dairy is.
When people visit the supermarket to buy perishable items like milk or eggs, the most direct routes to those items will often be stocked with the most heavily processed foods, things like cereals, chips, and sodas. In many countries today, food marketing is a big business. In the US alone, billions of dollars are spent establishing brand loyalty and placing highly processed items at eye level where we can easily reach them. This can make it difficult to leave the supermarket with only the milk and the eggs we intended to buy. For this reason, it's a good idea to make a shopping list before you go to the store, and then try and stick to that list. Going grocery shopping when you're hungry can also dramatically increase the temptation to buy calorie-dense, highly processed foods.
Avoid the center aisles. The center aisles are where the imperishable foods, the foods that are immortal, live. And you know, food is alive and it should eventually die. And a food that doesn't, there's something we should wonder about. It's been over-processed, it's been hyper-processed.
One way to tell if a food is hyper-processed is to look at the number of ingredients listed on the packaging. A food that contains fewer ingredients is almost certainly less processed. Also, if we can recognize the ingredients listed, this almost always means the food is less processed than foods containing ingredients that the average person has never heard of. And remember, foods that don't come with ingredient lists, like fruits and vegetables, are usually the best choices of all.
Hello everyone, Michael Lee Parker, and I'm back in studio with my good friend, Bar Ben Shoshin. That's how you pronounce it. I want to welcome you.
Thank you.
It's so happy to have you on the show. Now, Bar's background goes all the way back to Israel, and I think, you know, it's so important to me to be able to talk to you because later on in my life, when I start to get serious about my health, I turned to a lot of the things that the Bible said that Israel was commanded to eat in the scriptures. And so working with you as an entrepreneur and you know, there's a lot of things we've done in business, but I've come to appreciate just your background and your story, and it's very related. And then I know that you have, you know, a very health conscious, you know, lifestyle as well. And so I want y'all to get to know Bar a little bit. So let's take a trip, because let's go back to Israel for a minute and just tell a little bit about your background and where you're from.
Happy to be here, first
Yes,
of all.
yes.
So as you said, I was born in Israel. I've been there most of my life. I was born and raised up in a community where we grow a lot of things. If it's cotton, watermelon, citrus. And we always purchase and eat a lot of vegetables. Vegetables and fruits is on a day-to-day, in the morning, during lunch, dinner time. This is what we eat.
Right.
So also the land of Israel is agriculture is all over the country.
Right, right.
My brother also is a winemaker, so we have that in the family. You know a lot about food, about fruits and vegetables, about what's healthy, what's not healthy.
So even just from a cultural perspective, you mean you're like growing up around real fruits and vegetables as just a way of life.
Yes.
That's just something common to you.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask you this. So I know, eventually, you have a whole story and journey, that maybe for another show on all that you went through coming to America as an entrepreneur, but let's just focus on health and on food and on culture. So that's a culture that you described there, but did you notice a cultural change when starting to come to America? What stood out to you? Tell us a little bit about your journey to America and some things that you noticed.
Absolutely. It was, when you're in Israel and you hear about people that come to America, they come back, all they tell you about is how wealthy America is. They take pictures with huge drinks, it's all about wealth.
Right.
And then you come here and you kind of get into it and you start to love it. You love how cheap soda cans are, because in Israel it's, I think, $2.50 for one soda can.
Really?
So you come here and you can buy 24 for, a little bit. And you just get pulled into it. You notice that the bread lasts you weeks without going bad, same as milk. And you also get tips from your friends that you can use the milk a week past. That was a shocking fact for me.
Past the due date.
Past the due date. In Israel, you need to buy a little bit and use it because it goes bad.
Right. So before you go further, so you mentioned that about soda, for example. So are you saying, it's much more expensive to get these unhealthier drinks in Israel? You notice when you come here, it's almost priced in a way to get more of it. Did you notice that, or did it cause you to make changes and to fall victim to that? I mean, what happened to you?
I fell.
Okay.
I started eating unhealthy. If it's drinking unhealthy products, if it's eating fast food, because fast food and unhealthy food is cheap and it's easy. And it's right there for you. Just grab it and use it.
Right.
But then as time goes by, you can feel the impact on your body, and you start questioning, what am I doing here? Why is this bread lasting me so long?
Right, right.
Something must be wrong here.
Right. So in Israel, when you go and you get breads and things like that, is it thrown away sooner, or like if you don't come get it in a certain amount of days, it goes bad? Is that kind of, what was that like?
Yes, you go to the store, you can get your bread cut fresh. If you don't use it within 4 or 5 days, you can see mold on it. So you buy smaller portions and you constantly purchase your food.
What about the pricing? I mean, because normally if you think about buying healthier things, healthier breads and other things, even vegetables and fruit, out in America, it's, can be more expensive, but was it similar growing up for you in Israel?
So that's another good point. In Israel, fruits and vegetables are available, they're cheap, they smell amazing, they taste different.
You're making me hungry.
What an experience. You should go to Israel when you get a chance.
Yes.
And then you reminded me actually that when I decided that something is wrong here and I would like to start eating healthy, I went to the store and I found out how much vegetables cost. One pepper, $1.50 for one pepper.
Wow.
You can buy a whole bag of peppers in Israel for $1.50.
Wow, wow, and that is very clear where the emphasis is being put in America versus in other countries. And just for me to know, like, Because back in the day, I had we all had some problems with the wrong types of drinks and stuff. What was one of your favorites when you were doing wrong?
Fanta, Diet Fanta.
That was the one. That's right. Fanta. I love Fanta orange and all the grape and all the different ones.
My fridge was full of 24-pack cans.
Really?
That's the only thing I was drinking.
Because it was so affordable. It made it easier too, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about, that's a cultural shock. What about, let me pull something on the screen real quick, and Bar had shared this with me, but I want you all to see this here on the screen. This is a difference in just at a Starbucks when you see the different sizes and how the ounces are allocated in the United States versus in Israel in terms of the size of a small to an extra large. I mean, tell me a little bit about what you noticed regarding portion sizes and the amount and just the amount of stuff and how we even order things.
So, it's amazing the size difference in portions between Israel and America. Like the slide you showed, it's not even close. The large size in Israel, it's not. I think it's the medium here. And the way that it feels is they get you here to consume more, and if it's not big, it's less good. It's probably less good, or you're getting less for your money.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
So, any other things? I know we're going to have another segment and have some fun here. But is there anything else you want to say that stood out to you about the cultural difference coming from America to Israel? We've talked about many different elements, but is there anything else that stood out to you overall?
Well, the main thing is that unhealthy food is cheap, and we should really be careful with what we're putting in our body. I know that there were some researches that French fries can look, smell, and probably taste the same after 5 years. That's dangerous.
That's crazy, yeah.
It's dangerous. If your bread lasts you 3 weeks, you should start thinking, why is that?
Right.
If you can use your milk a week past the due date, why is that? What am I putting inside my body? And also pay attention to how it makes your body feel. If you're not feeling well, then you might want to consider consuming other things.
Very, very good. Like the saying goes, you are what you eat, so I think that's very good. So I hope you all enjoyed this. This is just part one of a special segment we're having here with Barb Ben Shoshin. She's one of our URCO affiliates and club members, but also as recently I'm calling you a health contributor, because I think there's so much you do. And you're going to learn more about what she does in the kitchen and some tips that'll help you cook better, help you shop better, and to think more healthy as you day to day try to survive this struggle of being more healthy. So we're going to go to a quick video, and I want you to watch this. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how do we be healthy with our food choices, more importantly, when we're trying to cook and when we're trying to shop. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, Dr. Axe here from draxe.com. I want to talk to you today about how to overcome food cravings and sugar cravings naturally. And this is something that so many people struggle with. In fact, when I interviewed some of my patients and asked them, what makes you go off a diet or crash on a diet? Pretty much every one of them said, well, the biggest thing for me was I started craving sugar. And so this is something that is kind of a big roadblock for anybody who's trying to lose weight, burn fat, get fit, is you maybe can stick on it for a day or two or even a few weeks, and finally the cravings for the sugar, or especially the carbohydrates like pastas and breads and grains and cookies, just overcomes people. And so in this video, I'm going to go through step by step the 4 steps you need to follow if you want to overcome sugar cravings naturally. And it really starts with diet. And the first thing you have to do is you have to start adding in foods that balance out blood sugar levels and help balance out insulin. Now, insulin is a hormone in your body that really works with your pancreas, that really helps out balance those blood sugar levels. And it's really the main issue that diabetics have is either they're not absorbing, or their insulin receptor sites aren't working properly, or their body's not producing enough insulin. But if you want to overcome these sugar cravings, you've got to work with insulin. And so you've got to keep your blood sugar levels stable. In order to do that, there are 3 things you must add into your diet and every single meal you eat. You need more healthy fat, protein, and fiber. And those 3 things will help balance out those blood sugar levels. They'll actually help keep you full longer and help you overcome sugar cravings. Some of the best foods in terms of protein are going to be protein sources like organic grass-fed beef, wild chicken and turkey, free-range eggs, even fermented dairy products, raw cheeses, eggs. But those are really going to help getting good quality protein, even organic protein powder like grass-fed whey protein. But getting more protein in your diet is a great way to balance out those blood sugar levels to reduce sugar cravings. The next thing, healthy fats. Doing more nuts and seeds like sprouted chia and flax seeds are amazing. Almonds are a great source of fat. Coconut oil, avocados, ghee or clarified butter. So butter is great. So again, getting more healthy fat is crucial to balancing out those blood sugar levels. And last but not least, getting more fiber. Your best sources of fiber are going to be from vegetables, nuts and seeds, as well as berries. And so getting those in your diet. But remember, every meal you want to reduce sugar cravings, protein, healthy fat, and fiber. And so what this might look like for breakfast is you may do a superfood smoothie and add in a couple tablespoons of sprouted chia or flax meal to get all of that extra fiber and the protein there as well. A scoop of whey protein to increase your protein, and then some coconut milk or oil. You're getting those healthy fats. And if you can do those in a morning smoothie, that's going to help keep you fuller longer.
Hello everyone, we are back in studio, and yes, I hope you noticed these new URCO aprons. Now this is Bar's idea. She surprised me and brought this to the studio. I hope y'all like this. This is great.
I don't know if you noticed I hadn't had my URCO shirt.
I know, and I didn't know why, and now I see she had a plan this whole time. So you all can see we're going to have to, somehow we got to make this available. This just feels good. I feel something coming over me with this, but you're going to have to give me some cooking tips so I can use it even better. So this is a sign that we're gonna get into the kitchen a little bit and talk about things that we can do in the kitchen. And I know, Bar, you do a lot of cooking, a lot of baking. I've just been very impressed with a lot of the things you do. And the thing about it is that you've been able to do things that are clean and still taste good. And tell me about that, because sometimes that's a misconception. People think if something is clean or good for you, it can't taste good.
Right. First, let me start by saying that I didn't used to cook. I come from a place where there is a dining hall, and you go there and you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right. Now, this was the kibbutz you were in.
Right.
Right.
Now, I came here to the U.S., and the cheap is what is unhealthy for you. And the healthy is what's very, very expensive. So the best solution I had is go into the kitchen and start and make things on my own.
Right.
And that's really the USA food forced me to start cooking.
Wow.
And baking. So I found out that you can take any recipe and make it healthy and tasty without anyone feeling that he's missing anything. I had a few friends. I love to host. I love to cook. I love when people come, stop by to eat. It's a great way to show love.
Yes, absolutely.
And at one point, they didn't want to come over because they heard that I turned healthy.
Right.
But once they came and they tasted the food, they didn't even notice.
So they wanted the bad stuff. They got used to it. Yeah. Well,
sugar.
Well, that, I mean, the struggle you're talking about is the struggle that everyone's going through, right? Is, you know, realizing that, wow, I'm more health conscious now. I got to get in the kitchen a little bit. Now, how do I do that in a way that doesn't take all my time and still is tasty? So let's talk about this, because I want to get into some real areas here. So the first thing that we're going to talk about here is cooking oils and butter. Now, we're going to walk through a few things because I know to do any cooking, you got to deal with oils. And so let's talk a little bit about different types of oils. Now, let's, here on the screen you can see this is grapeseed oil, unrefined sunflower oil, and we have unrefined corn oil. Tell me a little bit about these oils. We have a few more we're going to show, but tell me something about these oils.
So these oils are the less healthy oils, and the reason is that there are a couple of things that we should watch for choosing the oils we're using. The first one is a good balance between omega-3 and omega-6, and you don't really need to know much about omega-6 and omega-3, just know that you need to have a good balance. So if you're looking at the grapeseed, for an example, it's 370
Let's
something
put that back
to
up
1.
there. Yeah, okay. So the grapeseed is not at all. It's almost, you should almost not consume it. Okay.
And the other oils, you probably felt heartburn at one point when you ate the wrong oil.
Right.
That's what these oils do to you.
So when they're unrefined, they're really not good for you.
And also oils that made out of seeds. Seeds considered to an ingredient that increase inflammation in the body. So you should avoid that. There are better oils that you can use.
Nice, nice. Well, let's go deeper into this. So here's a few more. Now, here's avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, and refined canola oil. Tell me a little bit about these oils.
So avocado oil I love to use. Its burning point is very, very high. So it doesn't have a lot of flavor to it, but if you want even to deep fry, you can make healthier dishes and you can still deep fry. Don't eat it every day, but this is the type of oil that you can use and you can still be okay.
Now, let's talk about this for real quick about burning point. Now, for those that might not be as familiar and they just grab some oil and start cooking, but how important is burning point, and what is this whole issue around the burning point of oil?
It's very important. It's the point where the oil starts to show smoke, and from having nutritions and good things about it, it falls apart and becomes unhealthy and damaging to your body.
So once it crosses that burning point, that you could be starting off using something healthy and it becomes unhealthy.
Right.
I see.
So you want to use oils that has high burning point for dishes that cook on high heat.
I got you. I got you. That makes a lot of sense. So going back to this then, so I kind of jumped in on you, but avocado oil and these extra virgin oil and refined, a little bit more about those.
So I love olive oil. Extra virgin is the best oil that you can use. It has beautiful flavor. You can use it for dressings, for salads, for stews. And it has a high burning point. So that's the one that I would choose unless I want to deep fry something, and I'll go to avocado oil. And then canola oil, there's nothing wrong with it, to be honest with you. It's just not made out of any plants. It's a combination of a few plants that the Canadians came up with to find a good oil that you can use for everything, but it doesn't have a flavor but it's not hard, it's not bad for you.
It won't kill you. Okay. All right, absolutely. So let's go to another area here. So coconut oil. Now this is another type of oil. Tell me a little bit about coconut oil.
So coconut oil, at first I didn't like it because it has the flavor of coconut. But then I found out that you can bake with it, and I love baking. This coconut oil is terrific for baking. It's very healthy, and it has a burning point of 350, which is the temperature where you bake most things.
Right. So if you're doing more baking, do you recommend this a little bit more than the other ones?
Yes.
All right. Great. Great. Now this is one that I love, which is ghee, and I often say ghee butter, and you always correct me on that. But it's clarified butter, and ghee is actually a byproduct of the, well, let me let you explain this because it always gets me. Explain to me, because this is what I use now in trying to be more healthy, and I've gotten used to it. But what is ghee? Because you said, oh, you can make it yourself. I mean, tell me about this.
I always like to find out if you can make things easier yourself at your home. And ghee is a very expensive thing, but the truth is that if you take butter and you put it in a pot on low heat, after a while, all the milk and the lactose will separate from the fat. And the fat part, that's the ghee. You just pour it into a little container and you have ghee.
So it separates the part that comes up and separates. Is that the ghee?
Yes,
or
the clear one. You'll see what's the milk.
So so then you separate that, and then I would basically have my own ghee butter, just homemade. That's exactly what I'm buying?
Exactly. Only you made it, so you know exactly what's in it.
That's good. So then do I put this and refrigerate it or let it harden, or?
You put it in a container, you can leave it outside, you can leave it in the refrigerator. It's exactly like oil. Do you keep your oil in the refrigerator? You can really do.
Interesting. So this is also very important because it's another way of having a more healthy substitute for people that are using a lot of butters and things of that sort. So this is good. So let's go to another area. So let's deal with breads. Now I know this is something that gets serious, right? We start talking about bread. And we're going to look at some things and some breads that you've made, but let's talk about this a little bit. Now, this is a popular bread, Ezekiel bread, for people that want to really eat healthy bread, fully sprouted, 100% whole grain bread. What do you say about Ezekiel bread?
Ezekiel bread is a pretty healthy bread. If you can see, it says that it's sprouted. When you take a grain and you sprout the grain, it multiply the nutrition, the value of the nutrients in it. And this is why this bread is much healthier than any other, and whole grain is healthier than a regular grain, so it's a wonderful bread.
Right, and those of you that are struggling out there eating Ezekiel bread, remember there's different types of Ezekiel bread too, different versions, so you might have one version that you like more than another, so you want to check that out. Now, here's another bread that's flaxseed bread. Now, this is another type of bread. What is this type of bread? I don't think I've eaten this much, but this is pretty healthy as well. These are all healthy breads.
Yes, flax seeds is a very healthy seed, actually. Sometimes you can use it in your cereal. You can even eat 1 spoon by itself. Researchers say that it's good to help prevent cancer. So when you're including those healthy ingredients in bread, it's a healthier bread.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And that kind of, some of these other ones, like rye bread, even oat bread. So let's go back to rye, make sure some of y'all hungry out there. Then we got oat bread. Then we got, of course, there's 100% whole wheat bread. Now, these are all breads that are more healthy. So I think when you look at rye, you look at oat, and you look at whole wheat bread. Anything you want to say about that? But these are all outstanding breads. And I know when you know, if you're not all the way at the Ezekiel level, there are some of these that are pretty tasty that are still pretty healthy.
Yes, pretty healthy. Whole grains in general are healthier. So you should also look for that. Another tip, also always look in the back of the bread, look at the ingredients, see if it has too many ingredients in it. It's better if you won't get it, but we gave here some very good examples that you can find on any shelf.
Right, right. So these are all, and these are things you can find in the store pretty easily. Now, let's go deeper, because when we start talking about actually trying to bake or cook certain things, one fundamental thing is flour. And I know this was devastating for me because I have an awesome pancake recipe and I had to give it up, and I'm still working on it.
I heard about it. I'm still waiting for an invitation.
It's world renowned. But I think I really might need some help from you on how to recreate it, using healthier things. I've been trying to figure it out. I have a few versions, but it's not quite the same as what I used to do. But let's look at flour for a minute. So when we look at flour, one thing to keep in mind, we have whole wheat flour, and then of course there's spelt flour, and then there's coconut flour. That's another very good flour, and then we have almond flour. Now, what would you say about these flours and the differences in some of them and how you might use them? I know you bake. I mean, I've seen you do some things and some cookies you make and other things that I'm just blown away that it's clean, and other meals. But how do you use these flours for different situations?
So whole wheat bread, or whole wheat flour, I'm sorry.
Let's go back.
It's the flour that you should use instead of regular white flour. Regular white flour has nothing in it. It's just, it gives you nothing.
Right.
Whole wheat flour, if you want to bake, it's the only flour that has gluten in it. So you can make breads with it, you can make things that rise with it.
Okay.
That's the best one to substitute. The rest, they don't have gluten in them, so you will have to go and Google for recipes with that specific ingredient for the recipe to be successful. Coconut flour is pretty much to give volume to whatever you're making. Same as almond flour is just crushed almonds. There's nothing else in them. So it's very important to match the recipe to the ingredient that you use. If you'll try to use almond flour instead of wheat flour, it will be a disaster, so don't.
Yeah, so knowing if you need something to rise and have kind of more gluten in it and things like that, knowing which one to use. And I think this is so important to everyone at home there listening in, because you can find a way to get to where you were. It just might take a little bit more work, but then once you get the recipe, you got it.
You got it.
You're set. So yes. I know, I really like that you've taken the time to explore that. Now let's go into another area that's a hard one. And this has to do with how do we make things sweet, right? Now let's deal with artificial sweeteners. And I know this is a touchy subject for me. I'm already getting, my attitude is changing because sweet things was my enemy, right? So you try to go this route of all these artificial sweeteners, then you find out that it's almost worse than, sugar, So tell me about artificial sweeteners and some of the things you discovered about them.
So I feel exactly the same as you about artificial sweeteners. I found out the diseases that they can bring with them. So here is an interesting story. How did artificial sweeteners started? There was a scientist who did experiments with a chemical, and by mistake he found out that this chemical is sweet. There was a manufacturer who purchased this chemical from the scientist, persuaded the FDA to approve it, and that's how this artificial sweetener got to the shelves.
Wow.
Years later, people started to complain and people started to get sick, and this is when all the questions about artificial sweeteners arose.
After people made a lot of money.
And after people got very sick.
Yes, absolutely.
So people, yes, it's all about the money. It's not about our health.
Absolutely. Very well said. And that's what we've been talking about in this whole series, because if we understand that, we'll know that we can't just trust everything we see, because business is outweighing health, especially in this country. So let's go back on the screen here. So when you see things, here's some other code words that, and I'm not going to try to even pronounce them all, but when you see isosulfame, potassium, you see these long words, aspartame, sucralose, detagatose, I guess, saccharin, and now stevia is a big hit, and this is supposed to be more healthy, more plant-based, I believe, and I think there's not a lot out there now about any damage that it would cause, but the verdict is still out, because all these other ones you see up here started off the same exact way. They were the next big thing, the next thing that was great for you, then you found out later they were tied to so many diseases.
Right. Stevia started in South America, if I'm not mistaken, and people have been using it for years, for decades. No one really got very sick, but as you say, it still have not been approved. So in this case, we just need to use our judgment and whatever makes sense to us. I would still think that using refined sugar is better than artificial sweetener.
That's a big statement, because refined sugar is like the enemy, but you almost feel it's better than some of these things.
I feel that it's a little dose of poison in a bag. That's how I feel about it. No one should consume it. People need to remember that when they drink a Diet Coke, that's also what they're putting in their body. So use other sugars, use other sweeteners. There are so many options out there, and it will taste exactly the same. It might taste a little different than the flavor you know at the beginning.
Right. Now let's speak about that. Now I know there's so much time we can spend on this. I hope you all are enjoying this. We might be just a little bit over, but listen, this is really important. It's important for our families, for our lives, for our children, for our households. And let's go to natural sweeteners, because when you think about natural sweeteners, this is something that you know, having to learn that there's a way to get to sweet in a natural way. And you still got to be careful with everything that you eat. But this, you know, learning that I could still make cinnamon toast, or, you know, I could still make some pancakes and use something natural to sweeten it, right? So here's some natural sweeteners that are really popular that I know are very critical to us all. One is honey. This is natural, right? Then of course there's 100% pure maple syrup. I even now when I travel with 100% pure maple syrup in case I find a restaurant that's got some multigrain pancakes or some, you know, certain things that is more healthy. I can still have my syrup ready. Then there's agave, right? And then we've got coconut sugar, and this is another great sweetener. So I know, what do you say about some of these and how I can use these to sweeten things?
First of all, they're all natural. Honey, we know how we get honey. Coconut oil is from the flower of the coconut. Maple syrup is from the maple tree. And agave, it's another plant. They're all sweet, and it really comes down to if you like the flavor or not. With coconut sugar, I found that I can bake anything and just replace 1 cup of refined sugar with 1 cup of coconut sugar.
Wow, wow.
And it will taste
almost
as good.
Taste just as good.
No one noticed. No one ever told me, did you use coconut sugar here? But they did want to know if it's healthy or not.
Right,
they did want to know that there is no refined sugar.
Wow, wow. And so these are, you know, with a little extra work, getting to that sweet taste that you want. I know you know, in our household, you know, discovering a way to make cornbread and make it taste good, like with that sweet kind of edge to it, and it be clean. I was shocked that it was possible, right? And all of these things are critical for us. It's putting a little bit more time in, but it can lead to what you're looking for. So for sake of time, let's go to this other area about different sides that when you're having a meal that can be more healthy. So these are some sides I know, Bart, that you really stand behind that are really good. There's farro. I'm just going to stop right now on farro. This is something you don't always hear about all the time, but tell me a little bit about farro.
So farro is an ancient grain. It goes all the way back to Bible days, I would say.
Yeah.
So anything that is clean and comes from the earth is much better. It has not been processed like wheat, like barley, so it's an untouched grain.
So that's a very, very healthy side, learning how to use farro to create different sides. And then we have things like brown rice, but I know it's pretty common. And then even getting into lentils. And I know this was a little new for me. I wasn't and lentil is in the Bible for sure, but I just wasn't a lentil person. I didn't know much about it, but you actually helped me to experience that. What do you say about the lentils?
I love lentils. People do not realize how many nutritions and values lentils have in them. To a point where if you can eat 1 cup of lentil soup, you'll get most of the daily nutritions that your body needs.
Wow, most of them, huh? Well, this is really good, and so you might need to get a little bit more lentils in your diet out there. So, and then there's quinoa. Let's go to quinoa. This is another one. This is also another healthy side.
It is. It's a grain, and you need to remember that all of these are much healthier than spaghetti.
Right.
And you can just use flavors, use spices, try, experiment. You're gonna get a very, very good results. And I also want to say don't give up if the first, the second, and the third time something goes bad. Things go bad in my kitchen too.
Right.
But you just keep experimenting, and at the end, you'll be healthier and it will taste phenomenal.
Right, and then once you got a recipe, you can repeat, and it doesn't take as long because you know what to do. So now, to close this segment out, I want to get to some home cooking, and this is some things straight from Bar's kitchen, and I want to share with you some images of that. This bread right here is unbelievable. I want you to understand. Let me say that again. Unbelievable. Now, this bread, you take a piece of this and cut it, toast it a little bit, put some cinnamon on it, and dip it in some maple syrup. Oh my goodness gracious. Or use some ghee or clarified butter. But this, you made this homemade, is that right?
Yes, that's right. It's actually the first time I tried making it with whole wheat bread. Because I wanted to taste challah. I used to make challah all the time, but with regular one. Yes,
Wow.
it did come out pretty good.
Yes, it did. Absolutely.
You know I don't compliment myself,
I know.
but
I'll do it.
This right here.
It was outstanding. This time you can say it. So look at a few more things here. So what is this here? This looks like, well, you talk to me. What is this here?
This is a breakfast that we had one morning. It's actually a gluten-free waffle with a salad. It's a beef sausage, and we made sure that it doesn't have any preservatives and any antibiotics in it, and a little bit of cottage cheese.
Nice, nice. Nice, healthy breakfast. Looks good with some pure, 100% pure maple syrup on
Absolutely.
that. Absolutely. All right. And what about this?
This is actually a breakfast that was made for me, exactly the way I love it. It has also salad. What do you call those? Scrambled eggs?
Yes, yes. So you absolutely. So this is. I think this was your roomie here that jumped in and gave you a great breakfast.
Which I love
Looks
very
nice and healthy. So what? Here's another one. Now, is this some type of lentil soup? What is this?
This is a yellow lentil soup. It takes 20 minutes to make. It has maybe 3 ingredients in it, and it's phenomenal.
Is that right?
It's phenomenal.
You're going to make some people hungry here tonight.
Yeah.
Now, what about this? And you can eat this with the lentil soup. Is this some more bread?
This is some more bread. It's a whole wheat loaf that I experiment with. We ate it with the soup. It was really good.
It looks like it goes with the soup. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, here's another one here. Now, what is this here?
This is shakshuka.
Shakshuka. This must be an Israeli type of meal.
Oh, it's an Israeli classic.
Is that right?
It's tomato shakshuka.
Okay. All right.
Google it.
I will for sure.
It's a sauce that has lots of vegetables, onion, peppers, tomatoes, and you just put eggs in it. You eat it with bread for morning, brunch, lunch, dinner. It's protein and vegetables. As you can see, a lot of things that I'm making are protein and vegetables.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, what about this?
This is an egg muffin. I didn't make this one either. Bella did.
Oh, that's her roomie.
Yes, and it's just eggs that you mix with vegetables, a little bit of cottage cheese. You put it in the oven. You can make 12 at a time. You can even freeze it, deep freeze it, and you can use it as an ongoing.
So this can be like a snack throughout the day even, absolutely. So, all right, just a few more here. So what is this right here?
These are fish bowls. Sometimes it's boring to eat salmon and salmon and salmon.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like sometimes salmon is the only option for fish that exists, but it's not true. There's so many, and you can use fish different ways, not only in the oven, but make fish bowls with vegetables.
So this is a whole nother way, okay, of using fish. Absolutely. And then this looks like a meat here. What is this?
This is a leg of lamb in the oven. I like this recipe because you just put spices on it, you throw the vegetables around it, you put it in the oven, and 2 hours later you have a whole meal and you didn't even work for it.
Now that sounds really good. I'm sure people like to hear that. Now, and then this is some sort of platter. Like, tell me about this.
This is a classic Israeli breakfast. In Israel, for breakfast, we eat eggs and all kinds of salads. I'm missing the bread here. I avoided that. And maybe a little bit of fish. So it's just so many flavors in one plate. Everything is healthy, and you just get to taste many things at once.
It really looks like that. A lot of different flavors all in one experience. Now, this here, these are two other pictures here. Tell me what this is.
I like to stuff vegetables. This is, again, how I get the protein and the vegetables all in one dish. So on the left is artichoke hearts with ground turkey in a lemon sauce, and on the right is zucchini stuffed with ground beef in tomato sauce.
Oh, man. So ground beef is in there?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Grass-fed?
Grass-fed.
Okay, all right, absolutely. So our last picture here, what is this?
These are little corn dishes. You know that you can take any type of vegetable. You can mix it with a little bit of cheese. It's better if it's organic. And with a little bit of, with eggs and spices. You put it either in one pan or individual pans, and you just have your little quiche without the dough.
Wow, absolutely. Now that's definitely a snack. So these are some really great. Now we're gonna have to have a bar's cookbook at some point, but we'll that be for another day. But I want to thank you so much for being on the show. You've added so much to the URCO message about health, and thank you so much for these cool aprons. And I want to thank all of you for tuning into this show. This was a special show. We want to take a little extra time because we know how hard it is in the kitchen. We know how hard it is in the struggle. We know how hard it is to try to be more healthy. We want to encourage you that you are the CEO of your health. You can make an executive decision to do something different. In your kitchen, that is your office as a CEO. You control what happens, what comes in there, and how things are used. And I want to inspire you to make sure that you don't let just American culture and culture of any country dictate how you take care of your body. Make sure that you're the CEO of how your body is taken care of. Get out there, stay motivated, and unleash the CEO inside of you so you can be as successful as you can with your health. We're going to watch a short video and we'll be back to close out the show. Do you want to say anything with my inspirational words?
I don't think anything else is necessary.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been a great show. When we come back, we'll close out the show and tell you about our next show. Watch this quick inspirational video.
There's passion there in the inner city. There was a CEO inside of me that needed to be unleashed. There's a CEO inside of you that needs to be unleashed. I want you to understand that everyone here is a CEO. And the reason is, you got to run the business of you. Right. It takes something just to come to this school, to stay focused. It takes something to study. It takes something for you to deal with your childhood, how you grew up, the father you have, the father you don't have, the mother you have, the mother you don't have, the things that hurt you, the things that hurt you. It takes something to build all that. But you can be a CEO. Take your life serious. You don't have a spare life. You don't have an extra life. This is the only life you have. Get a piece of paper that says you can do something. Real estate license, cosmetology license, a degree, trade school, but refuse to be ignorant. Success is a mindset, and it starts with how you think. Refuse to just get by. Do your best. If you can't be a pine on the top of the hill, just be a little scrub in the valley, but be the best little scrub on the side of the rail. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. You can't be a big old highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it's not by size that you win or you fail, but be the best at whatever you are. The heights of great men are not reached and kept by sudden flight, but they, while their companions were sleeping, they were toiling upward in the night. So make sure that you, when no one's looking, you do it for you. You are a CEO. You run the business of you, and you can go as far as you want to go. Be the CEO of your future. Be the CEO of your destiny. Be the CEO of your career. Be the CEO of being an entrepreneur. As of today, my past does not matter. I am officially stepping into my new position. I am powerful. I know what I have to do. I am smart. I am able. I refuse to look back. Anything that ever hurt me has now become my fuel. I will make no excuses. I am now a high achiever. I am now an executive. I am the CEO of me.
Yes, let's clap it up, y'all. That's great, y'all. Inspirational. You are the CEO of you.
Yes.
Okay, we did not disappoint.
No.
This show was outstanding.
It's changing everything. It's a game changer. It's a game changer.
Tonight was, I mean, we first started off with that segment with Mike Tomasello, Michael Lee Parker on the meats.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
I know our audience learned so much.
Organic, how it's raised, the maintenance of the land.
The food color. The food coloring. When Mike mentioned about what salmon, it starts off gray. And so that was, I mean, I'm sure you all saw it. That was key.
Absolutely.
I learned a lot. We learned a lot about that. And let's see here. I wrote a few notes down. Wild versus farm raised. We kind of talked about that. The quality of the grass-fed meat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I like that thoughtfully raised.
Yes.
Yeah, so the animals are cared for a specific way, which means, like I think Mike, when he mentioned about if they are, then we're eating those other pesticides.
What about the chicken baths in the chlorine?
In the chlorine.
So that was something new for me.
I had never heard of that either.
Wow.
That was,
and
that
we're eating that in our systems, and then we wonder why we're sick.
Yeah, it's the truth. That was really an aha.
That was a
for
big
sure,
aha.
for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then we went to Miss Bar Ben-Shonian. Did I say it right?
We have to ask.
Yeah, we have to ask. That I mean, that was eye-opening.
Oh,
I
absolutely,
really enjoyed learning about the different type of oils, the breads,
the flowers.
Oh yeah, the artificial sweeteners, the natural sweeteners. I mean, so I know the audience has learned.
Oh yeah.
But this was one thing that she said that was really key, and that is in your kitchen, just try. Right? Because as we're moving along into this, we're continuing on this journey, we have to just try new things. And then once you have the recipe, it's your recipe. But I mean, this was really another thing that was key too. I'm sure you have some ahas too. But what we want to make sure is that when you're cooking your recipes, that you're focusing on portion size. Remember they talked about portion sizing.
That last week.
Yeah, and they talked about that a little bit tonight too, about the portion sizing. So it's larger there, and she talked about.
But Starbucks, they picked on Starbucks of all examples.
That's great for all the coffee drinkers. But the main thing was that the smaller the portion, and really, I think she even showed a cup of lentil soups there at the end, talked about different things to make sure
America
that
makes everything larger.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily better because you're getting more.
And you can get your nutrients in smaller portions.
Yeah, I love the lentils.
I love the lentils. That was great. And I love the oils, the burning point. I mean, we learned so much.
Yes, love the burning point. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah. So I know we're ready to get into the kitchen and get started.
Yes, we want all your posts of new things that you all have
and
tried.
Pictures. Be sure to show lots of pictures. So, okay, well, let's see here. We have some key announcements. If you haven't already, join the movement. So go to urco.com to join the movement. And then what you want to do, our next show.
Yes.
Okay, our next show. So we're going to have another series. So this is really good. We've been having a financial literacy series. Now we had Health is Our True Wealth series. And now we're going to get into How Can I Be Fit?
Yes.
So that's going to take place on March the 4th. Again, 6 p.m. is our regular time. Part 1 of How I Can Be Fit.
Yes. I'm excited about that.
You're excited?
Oh, yes.
I think you work out already.
Don't you too? At 6 a.m.? Have y'all 6 a.m. posts?
So we got a jump start. We're getting a little jump start. So this is great. So until next week, when we have our new series on How I Can Be Fit, remember, you are the CEO. You run the business of you. Get out there and be the Chief Executive Officer of your health and your life.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Thank you.